Hi guys, it's Sindisiwe, your host for Scales of Justice. Today I'm sitting with you one-on-one. I haven't done a one-on-one since I did my intro video, and I was very anxious then and I got very nervous when I was around the camera. And now I'm getting a bit more comfortable and experienced. I want to discuss something that is on everyone's mind right now. Is South Africa xenophobic? Or are we a country that is finally reacting to a justice system that has failed to implement its immigration laws effectively, resulting in a high influx of foreign nationals in our country? There's so much to be said about that. But first and foremost, guys, before we go into that deep stuff, I want to celebrate a few milestones regarding Scales of Justice. We've finally reached 700 followers or subscribers on the channel. That is a big deal to me because we're relatively new. Guys, if you haven't noticed, I launched this podcast about around October or November last year, and I only in real time started recording episodes in February. So February, March, it's actually a period of 2 months and we've reached 700 subscriptions. I think it's a positive side. So thank you to everyone that is watching and following. And guys, you are being part of a movement. We are building an ecosystem. So with Scales of Justice, I'm not just doing a podcast interviewing people and it's goodbye, go back home and deal with your grief. I'm creating an ecosystem of support. There's Scales of Justice, where I get to do my advocacy work and speak on what is concerning all of us as a country, what concerns me as a citizen. And then I've also registered an NPO. I call it the SM Scales of Justice Foundation. Sindisiwe Mhlongo Scales of Justice Foundation. And this will be an ecosystem that supports the very people that I interview on Scales of Justice in terms of raising funds and supporting the orphaned children of the victims of crime in South Africa, the ones that basically were unalived through crime. So that's the bigger goal. And also with the Scales of Justice Foundation, we are also going to be looking at our laws as they stand. I would like to mobilize other legal professionals in terms of bringing the right challenges that we need to do in taking care of the interests of our citizens, because we need to take up responsibility for our country and stop waiting for other people to do it. This is what I am doing. I am passionate about people. And this is a vision that I got as I prayed to God about, how I move forward. For some of you who are not aware, the reason I'm doing Scales of Justice, the reason I decided I was going to speak out publicly and be loud was because I lost my brother tragically in 2022 due to an unfortunate fatal shooting that happened in Midrand. His name was Xolani Gunene. You can look up the story. And as a family, we were being pressured at the time by the investigating officer and the NPA to take a plea deal, which was ludicrous. And I decided that I was going to stand up and speak up, because that is not how a victim-centric criminal justice system is supposed to work. There's been nice developments in as far as that is concerned, and I have seen the case progressing. It's still slow, but change has come, and I'm positive about where we are headed. And I still want to say a lovely thank you to our current prosecutor, Mr. Mapiri, who's really been on the ball regarding the case. And moving on to Scales of Justice, guys, we have shot about 3 episodes thus far. My first episode is with Barry Bateman, who's a journalist and a spokesperson within AfriForum, and a newly qualified lawyer himself, having completed his LLB. And he has, opinions about our justice system and the change he would like to see. So I would encourage everyone to go and look at that interview, guys. We really have to look beyond race and all the things that are out there in the country. I interviewed Barry mainly because of the work he's doing through private prosecution. AfriForum has a private prosecution wing. That's the work I'm focused on. I'm really not involved with the rest of the chatter that is around AfriForum. There's a lot to be said about that, but that's not where my focus is. My focus is on the tangibles that are helping shape our criminal justice system and help victims that have found themselves frustrated. So I'd like for you guys to watch that. He has a lot of insights. He's interviewed a lot of prominent people, and you guys would be aware of his infamous clash with Julius Malema. We touch on that as well on the episode. Then there's episode 2 of Filondaba, which was very close to my heart because for some of you who do not know, I'm from Newcastle. Greetings to Newcastle, my hometown. I'm from Osizweni, guys. Ngakhuliswa eNewcastle Osizweni, ngingane gogo. I always say this all the time. Ngingane gogo. And I covered Istorisa Filondaba, who was fatally shot on the 14th February. It looked like an assassination, and his sister Uketiwe Ndaba, was actually a teacher in the school I went to, St. Louis in Newcastle. And I felt like this is what Scales Justice is about. I'm not just profiling prominent people in the media. I want to cover victims as well. So for me, it was a big deal because I was covering a story that was eerily similar to mine, and we were making impact. The numbers were pulling in. There's the aspect of I'm doing a podcast and and that's exciting and you want the numbers going up. But there's also this aspect, which is the core of what I do with Scales of Justice, the people, their lived experiences, the pain. And with the Ndaba family, it became overwhelming. And the episode actually reached the authorities in Newcastle, who then informed us that there are things that we discuss in the podcast that are, still need to be further investigated, and the podcast would negatively impact the investigation. Being a lawyer myself, I'm still an officer of the court, and that made sense. The law must be respected, guys. Activism can't be unruly. It can't be blind to reason, and it is a responsibility to honor the memory of Umthokozisi Filondaba by removing the episode if it's going to serve a bigger picture of getting justice in his case. I'm still in contact with the family, and I'm wishing them all the best in all of this. The third episode that I covered, guys, GBV in our country, the case of Michaela Hoyman. Guys, like I said, we need to move away from topics that are just all pop culture. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I actually enjoy these podcasts myself, but we also need, let me not say move away. We also need to wear the hat of responsibility. The state of our country, the state of the globe, actually, it's not just South Africa, with the Epstein files, but our own inconsistencies, because I don't want to say that we are a loose cannon. There's inconsistencies in how our laws are being applied and executed. We just need a level of activism and being conscious, and that is what I am asking for. So yeah, don't let people like us who care about what's happening in the country, suffer to get a following, because I think that it is time for us who are a bit grown, or very grown, rather, depends on how you see it. It's time that we influence the youth and talk about the things that matter. So yeah, subscribe, guys. Don't just watch Scales of Justice. Subscribe, engage. I'm also growing with this, and I want to bring the conversations to a point whereby we relate even more. I am growing right along with you, but this is a movement for change. So yeah, I hope it landed with you guys. I'm very happy with our progress. Thank you to those who are subscribing and watching. There is more to come. There is a whole lot more to discuss. And now I want to go back to the topic that is burning my brain right now. Are South Africans xenophobic? Let's talk about it. I'll say yes or no. I'll say yes when I look back at their texts that started back in 2008. It was almost the equivalent of the Sharpeville massacre. About 60 foreign nationals were killed when South Africans decided we are not happy, we are poor, and we know it was socio-economic issues that were projected onto our African brothers and sisters. That was said, that was unfortunate. I would like to think none of us are proud of that moment. And I would like to think that it has influenced our posture such that, future protests have not resulted into anything as gruesome and aggravating as what happened back in 2008. Then there was another sprout of xenophobic attacks in 2015, and this happened after isilo samabandla esingasekho inkosi uzwelithini Zulu mentioned something along the lines mabahambe, let the foreigners leave, and so many people interpreted that to incite violence. He later, of course, came out and said that he didn't mean it in a way to incite violence, but he's rather addressing the poor immigration control the country has. And out of what happened in 2015, about 7 people lost their lives. But, South Africans knew better to pull it back and to honor what our constitution stands for, that we should honor the lives of the people that are in our country. Now, let's think about it. What does our immigration laws say right now around people being able to, come into the country? Our constitution covers everyone that is there, whether they are legally in the country or illegally in the country. It covers them because our country has fought for identity so strongly. Now, let's talk about what is happening in our current state. We know last month, in March, there was a coronation in East London for an Igbo king. Reports right now, I have not researched this, and anyone who has fact-checked it can make a comment here, also came out to say the Igbo king was not even legally in the country. Are South Africans still being xenophobic? I am going to say it's a hard no. It is a hard no. And I have, as a South African citizen, have to take a strong position here. In as much as I, prefer balancing the scales and honoring human rights. This is not a question of human rights. This is a question of respect. This is a question of immigration control. And we need to address the elephant in the room. South Africans and Nigerians are feuding at the moment. Why is that happening? From my perspective as a South African citizen, my heart broke when I saw the uprisings and foreign nationals were attacked and were unalived. But my heart equally breaks when I go onto the app X and see the profanities and the insults Nigerian nationals or some Nigerian nationals have to say against South Africans. That is not on. I am taking a stance here. Things that are being said are inflammatory, they are derogatory, they are disparaging and disrespectful to South Africans as a whole. There is the male bashing that is coming with it. We have our problems as a country, and let's take it back. One of the accusations that are coming through from some Nigerian nationals is that South Africans are slaves and that South Africans favor white people who are also foreigners in this country over other African nationals. First and foremost, guys, if I were to respond to that, no one has the right to be telling South Africans what to do with their freedom but South Africans. there's a difference between the South African liberation movement and the Nigerian liberation movement. Nigerians want to call South African men lazy. These people fought for this country. They fought for this country, and it was hard and it was long. I understand Nigeria also stood up for its own liberation movement, and I don't want to compare pain. I'm not saying that things were supposed to be worse as well in Nigeria, but the West massacre Nigeria experienced was the Enugu coal mines massacre that happened back in 1949. About 21 mine workers were killed for protesting for poor wages. In South Africa, we protested for human rights. We protested for dignity. Nigeria was able to achieve a peaceful handover, a negotiated handover of power. In South Africa, we had to fight. There was 1945 when apartheid was formalized, and there was the state of emergency that was declared against African people in the 1980s. We made a choice. There was so much bloodshed in this country to get to where we are, for us to enjoy the freedoms that we are enjoying today. And we made a choice as a country after so much blood was shed in this country. We had the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The things that we experienced were just beyond reason. They were traumatic. And we made a decision as a collective that for this country to be preserved, we are going to move forward with our differences. We do not deny that South Africa still has racial tensions to date. That is the truth. But that is a South African problem for South Africans. We should not be insulted for the fact that we have chosen to make peace and to preserve this country, because we understood trying to suggest that our white or Indian counterparts must go back to their countries would be like unscrambling a scrambled egg. They are here. They are citizens of this country, and they were raised here. And in as much as the still racial tension, we chose each other. We chose to make it work. You do not have the right to tell us that we are slaves for choosing to stop fighting so that South Africa can be a country intact that you enjoy coming to. So I think that needs to be said, guys. I have a love for Africa in ways no one could describe. And I believe a lot of us South Africans do love Africa as a whole, and we want to see it thriving. And a lot of us were hurting when xenophobic attacks came out. But to use xenophobia as an excuse for disrespecting South Africans is something I do not support, and something needs to be said about that. The second thing that I'm seeing online about South Africans is, calling our brothers lazy. South Africa has socio-economic issues, and this is why we implemented laws like BEE to make sure that we address the issues of the past. Nigeria was able to achieve its independence in the 1960s. Nigeria did not have to lose as much as South African people had to lose. However, it is a fact that we do have a noticeable amount of Nigerians in our country. It is not hate, it is noticeable. And it is not fair to suggest that Nigerians are responsible for all the crime. We're very much aware. South Africa has crime, with or without Nigerians. But it is a concern when we can see media reports identifying some Nigerian nationals as participating in crime, the trafficking of our girls, illegal entry into the country, and then going ahead to insult South African women and South African men online. Guys, this is where I think it needs to stop. And this is where we need to stop our own gender wars. Because I understand we have our own angers between the genders, but we can no longer afford to be speaking ill of each other to the benefit of other nationals and giving them ammunition to insult us online. Guys, I have to take a stance. I believe in justice. I believe in honoring all human rights. But I'm speaking up against the South Africans being insulted online, being called lazy when South Africans have been through so much, and South Africans drafted a constitution that would accommodate everyone in Africa as a whole, and now we are being outright taken advantage of. Something has got to be said, guys. I can get in trouble for this. I stand by what I am doing. If people want to be part of South Africa, they need to respect our laws, they need to enter the country legally, and they need to respect what we want in this country. With that said, I find myself very proud of our country with the white paper that our government has released around the changes with our immigration laws. There are a couple of things that I want to share with you guys for education purposes as to what does this white paper entail, in summary, in a way that is relatable, because that's the aim of Scales of Justice. We need to translate the law into something everybody else can understand. Essentially, like I said, our constitution is founded on human rights, and Section 10 guarantees the protection of everyone in the country, whether legal or illegal. However, I don't believe that the position has changed. We have just become more selective. What the white paper is going to do now, it's introducing a merit-based system. It is introducing stricter visa requirements, and basically we are aligning with global trends. The merit-based system, now foreign nationals have to be participating effectively to the growth of the economy in our country. They have to be in the country on scarce skills, which is quite important because that is going to take away the whole fight about whether foreign nationals are taking South African jobs or not. I think we are moving towards a responsible. So to our African brothers and sisters, this is not South Africa now saying, no, we don't want you anymore and we hate you. It is South Africa saying that come into the country, but contribute to the growth of the ecosystem so that we can take away all this fighting and the back and forth that is happening. It is also going to be deeper diving the background of foreign nationals coming into the country, making sure that, they have not made disparaging commentary about South Africans online, inflammatory commentary, and that they can contribute meaningfully to the country. So we are moving to merit-based, selective-based kind of reasoning around our laws, our immigration laws. What is particularly interesting to me is how the white paper positions the issue of asylum. For those who do not know what asylum is, basically, I think almost most countries, most democratic countries across the world have it in their laws that whoever is coming from a country that is in conflict, that is at war, they can then, come into South Africa and seek asylum, basically protection, because going back to their own country would lead to persecution or them being unalived, essentially, in simple layman's terms. So what the white paper is doing now, it is placing a condition that if you are coming from a country that is riddled by war, if you reach another safe country before you get to South Africa, you lose the right to asylum. You must stay in the country that gives you safety, the first country you arrive at. It's going to eliminate the thing of people deciding, no, from my country, I'm going to skip so many countries and go straight to South Africa. And again, it is not hate, it is regulating so that we can stop all this anger that is happening. Guys, I think citizens of a country have a right to say, okay, now we are overburdened. Now we can't afford to give more. We need to solve the problems that we have. I really don't appreciate South Africans being called lazy in the backdrop of a high unemployment rate and the history that we have when we were systematically kept out of participating effectively in the economy. Nigeria was able to achieve its independence since 1960. South Africa achieved its independence 1994. That's yesterday, guys. And you can't fix that overnight. I know there's so much talk against, BEE and so forth, but we need to be realistic. Nigeria has had ample opportunity to build its country without being restricted. Black South Africans were politically and economically restricted for the longest time. So to walk into our country and when we have complaints, to call our people lazy is absolutely unacceptable. I am very proud of all the activists that are out there on the ground. And guys, even more so, the fact that we are not unaliving people and we are just stating our position that we do not want to be disrespected in our own country. I am all for that, guys. Let's do the right thing. If you are here to love the country, we love you too. We love our African counterparts. I don't want to sound like how racist people will be like, I've got 2 black friends. But yes, I am well acquainted with some people from other African countries. So this is not something that is coming from a place of hate. It is recognizing that there needs to be more responsibility around how we show up in other people's countries. When we go to other people's countries, we need to enter those countries legally. We need to participate lawfully and create positive impact within that society. That's it. That's all that is required. And it's basically just being respectful when you are in another person's house. And to those African people that are within this country legally and are contributing positively to our country, we appreciate you. Keep doing what you are doing. You are not hated. You are welcome in our country. However, those who are here unlawfully and their countries are not facing war, our system is overburdened. It is the truth, guys. The right thing must be done. You must go back home, work on your countries. If, as Africans, we are able to positively impact our own societies and build strong citizens, in the future we'll be able to move in between each other's countries. For us South Africans, it'll be nice if Nigeria also becomes an attractive country to go to for skills, for career growth, and vice versa, alongside other countries. But yeah, guys, it has to stop. You cannot insult South Africans and not expect consequence. But yeah, South Africans, continue speaking up, and let's keep it classy, let's keep it strong, let's keep it firm, but let's still honor human rights whilst we at it. We fought for our freedom, we chose our rainbow nation, and all of us love it as it is, and we will work on our problems. And I do trust that we'll get to a pinnacle someday. As South Africans, we are very different from other nations. We talk openly about our issues. Other countries like to pretend that they don't have racial tensions. We talk about them. We have laws, and we do our best to make sure that none of it is systematic. We all can do it together. That is the country we chose. We all can do it together. And other people do have a place in South Africa if they're doing the right thing. Now, stay tuned for another episode of Scales of Justice. I am going to be covering an episode Tabiso Mthembu, who was a former metropolitan officer that was unalived a couple of years back, and his aunt has quite a bit to say about that case. And yeah, guys, don't forget, subscribe, like, share, and stay tuned. And Scales of Justice Foundation will be needing you. Signing out.